Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's going on, everybody? Man, it's a great day today. I'm outside. Figured I'd come downtown and do my video podcast out here. And one of my things is I like to choose different backgrounds and kind of give a little story about it. Well, today I chose a background of a mural that I found downtown San Antonio of Kurt Cobain and the group Nirvana. I thought it was a cool mural, so check it out right behind me, man. Really cool. And I just kind of thought it was, since this is my video podcast is based on addiction and recovery. I mean, we all know that Kurt Cobain died of a drug overdose, and it's just weird that the name of the band is Nirvana, and Nirvana is, basically an interpretation of a word meaning God, right? So I thought it was just great. And but before we get started with the video, let me see. I also, this mural has a thing that says "at Soup Laws," so I'm not real sure if that's the artist or not, but I believe it is San Antonio Street Art Dream Urban Arts. And there's over here is the if you can see over here, it has the right over here. It has the, I guess it's the artist, and that's it's freaking cool as heck, man. See that? Very nice. But anyway, I figured I'd choose this as the background for today's video. Whoa. And let me set my camera back up. Yeah, so I figured I'd choose this for today's background on the video, and what I wanted to do is read you a story and then kind of go in detail through that story and interpret what I think it means in my journey. And but before we get started, man, if you please join me in a moment of silence followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers and for those of us who are still in the struggle. And so if you would please join me in a moment of silence. And sorry if you hear the background, but I'm like right next to the street, so there's traffic. But anyway, I hope you guys can hear me. And at any rate, if you would please, a moment of silence followed by the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty, well, let's get started, man. Let me get this book out. And the story that I wanted to read to you and share with you guys today is it's from the Bhagavad Gita book, but I got the story out of a book that I'm reading called Everyday Dharma, and this is the book right here. So I'm going to set this mic down. Hopefully we can still hear me, and I'm going to read the story and then we'll get into it. Alrighty, here we go. Okay, this says, this story is a story of a young and handsome hero named Arjuna. And Arjuna is in the backseat of a chariot on his way to battle. Good and evil are about to clash with Arjuna. Leading the way, the forces of good expect a resounding victory. There's just one small catch. Arjuna is in the middle of a panic attack. Staring at the forces that oppose him, he becomes overwhelmed with feelings of doubt. His question, his purpose, his identity, and his mission. In this moment of desperation and despair, Arjuna crumbles to the floor of his chariot. This is Arjuna's moment to shine, to do his greatest work, and yet he feels paralyzed by insecurity. In his last-ditch effort to pull himself together, Arjuna turns to his charioteer for help. This is when he learns that his humble servant is actually Krishna, the god of protection, compassion, and love. Krishna pulls Arjuna to his feet, but the warrior can't look at his charioteer in his eyes. Staring at the ground, he shamefully admits that he is lost, that he doesn't know what to do or how to act. Krishna responds with a single line that will inform the rest of our journey into Dharma. Powerful words that get to the heart of how we feel when something is missing, but we don't know why. Krishna says, "You don't know how to act because you don't know who you are." And that is the small little bit of the story. And that last part where he tells him, "You don't know how to act because you don't know who you are." Man, is that, to me, that just rings true. Is that I can remember in the world of addiction, I was just acting out in a certain way because I wasn't who I was. I wasn't me. I was this person that was engulfed in this addiction that was bound down because of things that I had gone through in my past. You know what I mean? And those things were, dealing with childhood traumatic trauma, dealing with, depression, dealing with anger, dealing with suicidal thoughts, dealing with PTSDs, and dealing with sadness and anger and just all those things balled up into one. And the way I acted and the way I pursued my life at that particular moment in time was through the use of drugs, because it masked the feelings that I didn't want to go through. And it's just weird how when I started changing my life in the sense of how I perceived things, how I thought about the way I wanted to live, and changing that in the sense of not changing negative things, negative processes with positive ones. And when I started doing that, things started changing. You know what I mean? I started involving myself. I started getting out of that box of comfort, if you will, because in this box that I was in, it was lonely, it was isolated, it was all of the things that was bothering me. I kept closed in and I didn't want to deal with them, so I kept my life in this little box, and I didn't veer off of that box at all. I stayed closed in, locked in that box of this misery and despair that all I knew was that if I fed myself this drug, I wouldn't feel all of those things and I didn't have to deal with it. And, getting out of that box, getting out of that comfort zone, getting into a routine of positivity and involving myself in a recovery community, involving myself in a spirituality lifestyle, involving myself into in this community of spirituality, and involving myself in seeking my higher power, and at the same time seeking myself, because I isolated myself a lot, and what I started doing in that isolation was I started looking for me. While I was in while I was in that isolation, I started looking for myself. I started looking for Joel, who Joel was. What is Joel doing? What do I want? What does Joel's heart want? What does Joel's soul want? What does Joel's feelings want? And come to find out, what I craved the most was to share love, to share my experiences with other people, to want to help somebody. You know what I mean? That was one of the things that I was doing the most, that I felt the most compelled, that I wanted, that I was looking for, was this thing that I felt this burning desire to speak, to talk, to help somebody. And it brought me back to this feeling that I had when I was in this meeting at one point in time in my life. Back in 2005, I was sitting at this place and listening to this guy spill his guts out and listening to his story and feeling connected to that person, feeling connected that story, the things that he was going through, I connected with it, and I could just see this person so happy and so just full of life and just this drive to help somebody. And I was like, man, I want to be like that. Why is he going through everything that I went through, and why don't I feel like that? What is wrong with me that I can't be like that? And it was that day that I remember deciding to get out of that box, and it gave me 10 years of sobriety, and it gave me this whole different outlook at life, and I was just grateful for that. And that's, reading the story that I just read you, how the guy Arjuna just crumbles down on his chariot because he sees this adversity that he's got to get through, this whole all this stuff that was coming his way, and all of that stuff was the stuff that he was dealing with in the right here and the right now. It wasn't something that he was going to deal with that he already had gone through these things, or that it is something that he was going to go through in the next month. No, it was the stuff that he was going to go through in the right here and in the right now. And that is how I felt, that I had to go through and deal with stuff that is going to be right here, right now. And what am I going to do what was I going to do to get through that, to live through that? And how am I going to do that? What are the actions am I going to take? Am I going to stay stuck in this little box of all of this adversity and misery that I had gone through and just dwell in it with the only way that I knew how was feeding myself this drug? Was I going to do that, or was I going to get out of the box and decide to do something about it, to finally step out of it and put one foot in front of the other and gradually start seeing what was on the other side of the fence, if you will? And that's what I take out of that story, and how I relate it to my life. And just as for maybe for the new guy who is just in that despair right now, or that in that thing that you can't hold on. Sorry about that. There's a bunch of traffic out here, but let me go on. Let me wait for a few more seconds, and there's a few more vehicles coming. But so I had to figure out what I was going to do. And was I going to allow myself to stay in that box? And was I going to allow myself to live in that misery and in that adversity and let that dictate how my life is going to go. And it's almost like, I chose this location to do the video podcast today, but was I going to let all of this distraction veer me off of coming down here today and doing the video and choosing this background? Or will I just withstand the few seconds that it took for these people to go by and let the noise clear out, and now you can hear me clearly? You know what I mean? Now the smoke has cleared, and now I can communicate with somebody that needs to hear the message. And I feel that a lot of times we're just stuck in that hustle and bustle of life, and you're stuck in that traffic of life that you don't know how to get out of, that you're looking for something different. And all you have to do is sit back and find yourself, whether it's just 5 minutes, whether it's an hour that you isolate yourself for a day and just kind of come to one and find you. Because sometimes it's okay to be a little selfish if it's going to find you and find that next step that you have to take in your life, that you need that moment to say, hey, which way do I go today? Do I stay stuck in this negative grind that I'm in? Or will something tell me today that, hey, you know what, it's okay. It's okay to feel like that. Because you know what? When you feel things like that, when you're going through these adversities, you know what? That eventually, every adversity, every bad thing that you go through is only for a season, because that's the type of life we live in. We only live in a life that comes and goes. And right now you might be in that part that you don't see the new stuff coming. You're still in that grind, man. You're still in that stronghold. You're still in that thing that's just hurting you, that's just binding you down. But guess what, my friends? There's going to be a point in time that we're all going to be able to feel that nirvana, if you will, and get to that next chapter of your life that's going to kick that habit that you no longer want, that is going to kick the weight that you no longer want, that's going to kick that anxiety that you no longer want, that's going to kick that anger that you're dealing with, it's going to kick that depression that you're on right now, it's going to kick that mourning that you're going through. And nirvana will come to you and get you on that path of essence of life that you need to move to the next step. And I just thought that just like Arjuna was going through the battle and he just went down on his knees and Krishna came, the God of protection. Nirvana would be a God of protection for you, for me. Krishna even could be that. Your higher power could be that, whatever that may be. I just know that I've gone through those adversities. I've been through that suicidal mode. I've been in that PTSD mode. I've been in that addiction to drugs and alcohol mode. I've been in that I lost my relationship mode. I lost my home. I wound up homeless. I've been in all those adversities. And I'm here to tell you as living proof, my friends, that you can get out of it. There is a will. There is a way. And just by listening to a video podcast like this can help you on that step, on that new journey of life. But I guess that's going to be it for the message for today. I hope that this really helps somebody out today, because I know that, when I watch video podcasts, they are always encouraging for me to do something else that helps somebody else out. And I'm just grateful that I get this second chance, that I get this second opportunity of life to share a message that has helped me, that I can share it with somebody, because ultimately that's the thing, is to share the message to share the things that have helped me along the way to get to where I'm at today in this life of sobriety, this life of spirituality, this life of positivity, and to share that with somebody else, man, is just awesome. So at this time, if you please give me a thumbs up, maybe hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and just know that when you do hit that subscribe button and that like button, you help out another veteran, you help out another person dealing with PTSD, you help out another person dealing with depression, you help out another person dealing with anxiety, with just all kinds of different things. And just know that when you do that, man, you'll really be helping somebody out. So please, I encourage you, hit the subscribe button, share my channel. And I guess until the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.